You know what? After seeing The Snowman, I'm just glad to see a bad movie that didn't piss me off or bore me. Geostorm is the latest disaster movie and is the directorial debut of Dean Devlin, who was Roland Emmerich's writing and producing partner for stuff like Stargate, Independence Day, Zilla, and several other disaster movies. And yes, I'm still referring to that movie as Zilla. It's not worthy of God. But anyway, Geostorm takes place in the year 2019, or that's when the movie starts, and we have invented this technology that basically controls the weather. It stops hurricanes, it stops natural disasters, as long as it's not earthquakes, because there's no way to stop those. Then cut to 3 years later, and the weather is suddenly hacked, and the satellites start losing control. It starts creating a giant worldwide catastrophe known as a geostorm, and it's up to Gerard Butler, the guy who created the program, to pretty much save the day. When I saw the trailers for this movie, I saw them through Double Toasted, and it just looked like the dumbest thing in the world. But at the same time, I was excited for it, because, not in a good way though, I never expected anything good out of this movie. It just looked like one of those things that could be so bad that it's entertaining and laughably bad. And I would have loved to come back from the movie saying that it is one of those so bad it's good kind of movies, but I just can't. Because unfortunately, Geostorm is another generic Roland Emmerich / Dean Devlin disaster movie that should have come out at least 15 years ago. Because if you've seen all the other movies that Dean Devlin has produced with Roland Emmerich directing, you know exactly what you're getting into. And I will say right now that automatically it's not a downright terrible movie, because if it wasn't going to be so bad it's good, it was just going to be plain bad. And it never made me mad in the slightest, but it's not one that you should really check out. All that being said, there are a few select moments in the movie that can be entertaining in that so bad it's good quality, but you gotta wait a while to get to them. Most of the movie consists of all these little subplots that don't really feed into the main conflict of the film. For example, there's a subplot between Gerard Butler and his brother, played by Jim Sturgess, who are pretty much disconnected from each other, and as the movie goes on, they have to rekindle their bromance, and you just don't really care for it at all. Like, you came to this movie wanting to see a bunch of disaster effects happening, and there's more drama than there is disaster. The romantic subplot between Jim Sturgess and Abbie Cornish doesn't really amount to anything. Again, you don't really care. And this is really nothing new. This is a big problem with a lot of Roland Emmerich's movies that Dean Devlin has produced. As much as I enjoy Independence Day for just being a really cheesy 90s movie, the worst parts of Independence Day are when we have these subplots involving the characters that don't really feed into the main conflict. And that was one of the big problems I had with Zilla, or Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, outside of the obvious reason, is that there are a lot of these subplots involving certain characters that don't feed into the actual disaster or big conflict of the film, and that's exactly the case with Geostorm. You don't really care about any of these things that are going on, and they're not really at all useful when it comes to trying to stop this big geostorm. It can leave you bored at points, but at the very least, I will give the movie credit that it does have a good pace. There was never a real point where I was so bored that I wanted to leave. I was just like, okay, I've seen this before, I know how this is going to play out, just wait it out. Oh look, it's starting to pick up. It's starting to have the giant, goofy, disaster special effects that I came to see. And when it gets to those giant disaster level special effects, it can be entertaining in that so bad it's good quality. You've seen this in the trailer, but there's a scene that takes place in Rio where it's just this giant wave of snow and ice that freezes everything, and you see a plane fall from the sky. It's one of those things that I'm like, alright, I'm watching this and I'm enjoying it. Not in the ways that Dean Devlin intended me to enjoy it, but I'm getting some fun out of it. And then I'll just go back to the subplots, and it's just kind of rinse and repeat. You've seen this pattern before, so I just really can't get all angry at it. And also, the movie's not over 2 hours. It's just under 2 hours, so that definitely makes it a little more tolerable. Which again is another problem with Independence Day, is that it was almost 2.5 hours, and Roland Emmerich's Zilla was 2.5 hours. So at least Geostorm was short. In terms of your performances, they're just kind of meh. Your lead is Gerard Butler, who I've never really been a fan of to begin with. I just think he picks the worst projects imaginable. And in this movie, he is supposed to be the guy who created the satellite that controls the weather, which I know I've said this before, but it's just as believable as Mark Wahlberg being an inventor from Texas. So you just look at this guy and go, no way. He looks too filthy to be the smartest guy in the world to create this program. He's supposed to be an American, yet at the same time his Scottish accent keeps kicking in, like, clearly to the point where you can obviously hear it. And they try to cover up by saying, oh, me and my brother were born in the UK. And you're like, no, bullshit. You just put that in just so you could try to cover up the fact that his Scottish accent keeps leaking out. So Gerard Butler is the worst actor in the movie. Jim Sturgess is okay. Abbie Cornish is okay. Ed Harris is Ed Harris. Andy Garcia is mediocre. The best actor, or should I say actress in the movie, is Talitha Bateman, who you may recognize as the girl from Annabelle Creation who had the crutches. She is truly the best actress in the movie, which is not a backhanded compliment at all. She's the one who actually gives a really good performance, but she's not in it for very long. And also, her being the best actress in the movie makes it even more embarrassing for the people who have been in the game a little longer than she has. So that's sad right there. So on the whole, it's a bad movie. There's not much to recommend about it, and a lot of the scenes that you see in the trailer, like all the over-the-top weather effects, and the scene where you have buildings toppling over like dominoes, they can be enjoyable in that over-the-top, so bad it's good kind of way, but they're very far and few in between. So this is a movie that just don't waste your money on it. And what I mean by that is don't go to the theater, which is weird to say because given the fact that this is a special effects movie, the special effects aren't really that impressive. They look really outdated. It's just best that you catch this movie on TV whenever it comes out. If you catch it on TV at the right moment and watch a little of it, you might be amused because you didn't have to go out of your way to see it. And that's my review for Geostorm. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the movie, if and when you've seen it. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.